All right.
Okay. We'll start the interview. Pre-memory about the camera and etc. ya. Okay.
Yep.
First, Mr. Karuniyado, can you please introduce yourself?
All right. Thank you. My name is Ahwy Karuniyado. I graduated with bachelor's degree in 2018. Then I started my business in around that time. But at that moment, COVID hits and I have to lay off my people, which leads me to having double jobs, working as an entrepreneur, but also working as a professional in other companies, which was written on the essay. Hence, at that moment, I was decided that maybe I need a strong theoretical framework to do my business. Therefore, I decided to pursue my studies at master's.
Okay. So I can see that you major in psychology from Universitas Pelita Harapan.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, that university is in Banten. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So since I see also that you're originally from Batam and you currently reside in Yogyakarta, so can you tell me what made you choose that university, which is far away from your hometown?
All right. So I come from a Chinese background. My father is Chinese and my mom is Bataknese. So in the Chinese family side, they pushed me to go to study in schools that have business people. So at that point, my father decided that I either go to Prasmul or Binus or UPH. And then when I go to UPH, I saw the buildings are very nice. That's why I pick UPH. Then why psychology, right? At that moment, I decided to go to philosophy, but in UPH, they only have Christian philosophy. That's why I took the little sister of philosophy, which is psychology.
Okay. So I can see that your GPA is at the very cutoff of LPDP's requirement, yeah, which is 3.
Correct.
Is there a reason for this, or could it have been higher? Like, why the low GPA?
Right, it could have been higher, but at that moment, I was focusing on debating championships. I joined lots of varsity debating championships, even going to international rounds, going to Singapore, meeting American students, and so on and so forth. I also got certified in judging debates, um, and also teaching debating schools like Binus, Penabur, and so on. So at that moment, I was focusing too much on debate, that which made me decided to let's just get 3 in my GPA, in overall GPA, and that's it. Every time I get 3 GPA, I'm good.
I see. So you actually set the standard quite low for yourself, and you focus more on social activities or organizations, etc. So
Yeah.
is that something that you plan to do as well on your master's study? Because you'll be studying hopefully in NUS, and of course, it's an international school. There'll be more opportunities to also network, join organizations and such. Is that something that you also plan to do later on in your master's study?
Right. So frankly, having a low GPA is one of my biggest regret in when doing undergraduate school. So at the very last semester of my study, I challenged myself by taking a very complex scriptsy final paper. I took 3 variables and then mixed method of quanti and qualitative. And that spirit still exists even after going to work professional settings. That's why I grabbed so many certifications like mini MBA, accounting, and so on. So when I go to this master's degree, the NUS, I will try to balance both. But even if I'm going to set a level of score, I will not put it as low as 3 anymore. It should be around 3.3 or 3.5 or around
Okay.
that range. Yeah.
Okay. So you're taking one of the pathways is the bundling pathway, which is NUS and LPDP's work together. Can I know this is I'm still a bit unfamiliar to it, but if I'm not mistaken, you have to also find another LOA to NUS, is that correct?
Yep, correct.
Okay. How confident are you that you can achieve an LOA from NUS with that GPA at this moment?
Right. So, frankly speaking, the bundling program is working together with NUS.
Mhm.
And then I've joined the socialization sessions from NUS and from LPDP. both have the same answer, which is if you get accepted by LPDP NUS, then it is an obligation for NUS to give LOA for the people who accepted by LPDP. So the prerequisite for this study is being accepted to LPDP.
Okay, okay, so
Yeah.
that's good to know. Your background is from psychology and you're changing it to a background of business or entrepreneurship. Is there a reason to that? I mean, I know it's related to what you're doing right now, it's related to your job, but what initially prompted the change to entrepreneurship instead of like pursuing a career in psychology, which is your or the major that you already have in your bachelor's degree? So why not pursue a career in psychology instead?
Right. So when I study psychology, one of the things that I try to understand is the return on investment and what I'm going to do post psychology studies. Then after quite calculation with my lecturers and the futures I'm going to have, I decided that it's not really fulfilling for me to be in psychology. It's rather I feel more fulfilled doing business, doing transaction, doing commerce, and everything in between. And the strongest decision that made me say yes to entrepreneurship is that when I realize when you try to help a person, you can only help one person at a time. So, but if you do a business, once you build a good business, you pay taxes, you pay CSR, you pay salaries to the people. So one effort equals to more yield to the society. That decision made me understand that I think entrepreneurship is for me. Hence, my business is still going right now, despite all odds, and I'm still working at that moment to find ways to do business.
Okay, that's good to hear. I'd like to move on to the next question, which is related to your LPDP journey. Can I know if this is the first time you're applying for LPDP?
This is the second time that I applied for LPDP.
So you failed last year, is that correct?
Yep, this is correct.
Okay. So since you mentioned one of your weaknesses is that you tend to have an internal turmoil whenever you have a failure, can I know how you took that failure last time? Like when you have your LPDP results and you know that you didn't make it.
Fun fact, when I did my final interview last batch, I already have a hunch that I will fail. Because the one of the panelists said that my decision was not right at that moment. So at that because and then I felt that I'm not convincing enough. A week after that, a week after the interview, I applied for another university for LOA, which is Leeds MBA. I already have the decision, and at that moment, I have a big debate personally within my heart. But the way for me to handle it is having a set of time to be sad, which is a week, and then applied for another school immediately. So I don't linger too much on that feelings, but whenever I feel failure, I feel that that is my decision, and that is because I am not competent enough. That's why failure happens.
Okay. So you mentioned that during the last interview, you had a feeling that you would have failed.
Yep.
What, in this occasion, what do you think changes? Do you think you have a better chance this time? Do you think you're better prepared this time? Or do you think it would be quite the same as last time?
Hopefully it will be different, but the differences are in the preparation. I tried to be, I tried to be a little bit more thorough in this application time. First of all, when I tried to apply to Leeds MBA, I talked with the dean, with the professor. What's different within your school? What are the things that I need to know about your school? And then what are the studies that I'm going to take? So if there are questions about Leeds, I can answer that because I did ask the questions to the dean. And then for the NUS, I go to the socialization. I try to understand their perspective. I try to understand their pros and cons. So on that side, I'm more prepared. And secondly, I already prepared for mock-ups and interviews way before the date. So in terms of preparation, this is like 5x than before.
Okay. This would be one of my final questions. Since you are a YouTuber and you are proud of that fact and you want to expand the channel, how likely do you think you would continue to expand your YouTube channel post-study? Is that one of your target or one of your pathways that you plan to expand later on after you have succeeded in LPDP or succeeded in your studies?
Yes. Unfortunately, I have a business that I own a YouTube channel that have 1 million subscribers. So I want to use that asset as a hub. I want to create an entrepreneur community where people can learn. I want to repackage my learnings, my failures, and my friends' failures and everything into subsets of learning and then put it to the world, to the Indonesian people so they can study. So it will be a hub for people to connect. It will be a hub for people to learn about business, and in hope that there might be strong SMEs coming out from that hub, or maybe a strong aspiring entrepreneurs coming from that hub.
Okay, that's good to know. I think that is all for me at this moment. I will let Miss Tabitha to take on the lead. Miss Tabitha, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Miss Alsha. Good evening, Mr. Edo. I will continue the assessment. First, I want to ask you about your work experience or your entrepreneur experience. I want to know what problems do you find in your work that makes you want to bring up this issue, and that makes you want to pursue higher study.
Right. So from the business side, the more that I meet people, the more that I understand that why people doesn't do business is simply because they do not know how to do the business. Whenever a first-time founder try to build a business, they try to focus more on the product. They don't understand about the documentation of financial statements, of doing taxes, of doing structured decision making, which led to failure, which led to a strong preconceived bias that doing business is very risky and you're not inclined to do that anymore. That strong feelings that I have towards people who doesn't understand business and make a decision that business is very hard. That's what I'm trying to cater. And then from the professional side, I understand that whenever I work with people, some of the peoples in there are not they do not willing to take risk. So they go to work and that's it. They don't have any ambition. They don't have anything to move the needle, which in turn leads to a lack of growth for the company and for the society and for the product. Those two things make me understand that if I'm really going to do this and I have this asset of 1 million subscribers and I need to make a hub for people to grow their abilities to either make independent decisions and finally to do a business.
Okay. Do you need to pursue higher degree for this? Why is what are you doing right now is not enough?
Yes, it's not enough. The evolution of my understanding is that the first time I tried to created this hub with my community, I thought that as long as you can do sales, that is enough as in business. Everything will be solved as long as you do sales. But it's not that's not how things work. You need to document the financial statements, the balance sheet, and so on, which led me to study about accounting. I have that certification too. Then I understand that you need to do risk. That's why I also take the risk certification and then so on and so forth. So if I do want to make an end-to-end hub for people to learn, I need to also understand the theoretical framework and the things that I never understood from the beginning, which also leads me to, I think I need to study and I need to learn from the best of the best, which is NUS that I chosen.
Okay. So you mentioned NUS, and I want to know why strategic analysis and innovation matches with what you need to study.
Right. So when you do business, it's the performance of your business really comes to your ability to make decision, and your ability to make decision comes from your ability to understand the status quo, the situation that's currently happening, your assets, and your ability to do so, and lastly, your energy. In the end of the day, doing business is really maximizing what the limited resources. It's always goes back to that game plan. So to have that ability, to make a rational decision, as cold as it may be. I need to have the ability to understand the status quo, the variables, the potential that it might either go back or go good. That's why I took the strategic analysis for NUS.
Okay. Is that a specific course or program that is aligned with what your purpose is to study there? Can you mention any course?
Yes, it's called economic analysis for strategic decision, as far as I remember, taught by
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Xu. She's very well versed in the Asian economics, especially China. She already wrote extensive research and become an interviewers in every places. That specific course is why I make the decision to pick NUS strategic analysis. I need to understand how a decision making works, what are the consideration to make a decision, and finally, how does that put into the context of Asian economy? Because we live in Indonesia, and she's she's a master at Asian economics, so yeah, it matches.
Okay. So she has experience in China economy, but it is very different from Indonesia economy. Um, do you think that we can benefit from this, or is it better that you study here in Indonesia, where the professor is well known in Indonesian economy instead of China economy? Because we have very big gap difference from China.
Right, and it's an understandable question. The very reason why doing study in Indonesia is not enough to achieve the goal. Doing study in Indonesia means that we're going to have a lack of understanding towards how the world works. The world works right now are led by two countries, the United States of America and Chinese government. Everything about them controls the world. So understanding how the Chinese government do their business, do their economic stuff, will have me the ability to navigate not only domestically but also internationally. I mean, the culture is also similar to how Indonesian works. We're very there are red tapes, there are bureaucracy and everything. The navigation of those things are more applicable and more advanced in China rather than Indonesia. That's why I picked the Chinese side for this study.
Okay. And can you tell me more? What are you going to do there? Are you going to take thesis? Is it research based or coursework, or will you intern in one of their companies there?
Right. So hope it's a coursework, and US strategic analysis is a coursework. So for the final project, I would work in a company as an intern. That way, I can also understand how an advanced economy works and how to navigate between how a company works in Singapore and Indonesia, the differences and the best practices in between. So yeah, my final decision was interning for final project.
Okay. So as you know, we also have the LPDP Kewirausahaan program. And since I saw that you have your own business and your purpose is to enhance or fostering an entrepreneurial ecosystem, why don't you take the LPDP Kewirausahaan program?
Right. The stringent part of doing the LPDP Kewirausahaan is one of the requirement is to talk directly and receive well, what do you call it? A letter from the dean.
Mm.
I do not have the confidence to get a letter from the dean, which apparently was proven wrong. Because when I talked to UK leads, I talked to the dean immediately, but the time was very close between the opening date and the closing date. So that's why I just took the regular path.
Okay. So other than NUS, you also applied to University of Leeds. can you tell me about your second choice or your other choice in LPDP regular?
So why I put late. First of
Yes.
all, the decision of taking an MBA usually comes
Mm-hmm.
from the cohort. So when you go to for an MBA, you need to understand the cohort. The reason why INSEAD received #1 ranking of MBA because the cohort is very old. And Leeds also have a very old cohort. So if I go to
Mm-hmm.
Leeds in this year, that means I'm going to be the youngest in the batch.
Okay.
Aside from me, it's gonna be 33 to 34 years old. That means I can
Mm-hmm.
learn not only from the professor, but also from the cohort, from my colleagues.
Mm-hmm. I see. Um, it is very different. Yeah. I mean, very different program. One is MBA and one is strategic analysis and innovation. And I want to know which one do you prefer most?
In all honesty, I prefer most NUS. Although I
Mm-hmm.
understand that both program are yields very differently, but the decision to choose also MBA is also similar to strategic analysis. Because in Leeds, there is this Peter Ayton. He have the ability to make decision making. He is teaching decision making course. The difference though in the leads and the NUS, the leads more focus on the risk and uncertainty rather than the government red tape
Mm.
that are the NUS focusing on. So which one I focus? If I get it, I will go for NUS. Still for NUS.
Okay. You think that NUS match your need more than Leeds?
Correct. Not only from the professor side, but also from the
Mm-hmm.
community side. We live in Southeast Asia, and Southeast Asia, most prominent venture capitals and business network are all in Singapore. Even the big startups in Indonesia have their headquarters in Singapore, like Ruang Guru, for example. Um, that's the very reason why I chose Singapore, other than other countries. So yes, if I do get accepted, I will still choose NUS.
Okay. Um, you mentioned here that one of the benefits of applying to Singapore is Singapore has been the hub for venture capital with a mature startup ecosystem. So, what makes Singapore startup ecosystem different from Indonesia? What they have that we don't have right now?
EODB, ease of doing business. So in Singapore, if you're making a new PT, a new LLC, you can make it in one day. You go for breakfast and then you get the
Mm.
company by lunch. But if you go for Indonesia, when you make a PT, you go for breakfast and then you can only have it a month later. That's why the startup ecosystem in Singapore is very mature. Everything is very fast. I want to try to understand that and try to build the same ecosystem in Indonesia, although organically by connecting people first.
Mm.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference. EODB is the biggest difference between Indonesia and Singapore.
Okay. So, what are your plan, your short-term plan, your long-term plan to close the gap between difference of Indonesia startup ecosystem and Singapore startup ecosystem?
First, there are three phases. The first phase is repackaging my learnings, everything that I've learned, the failures, the success, and theoretical framework that I got from the study will be repackaged and then distributed to the people in Indonesia through my networks,
Mhm.
through my YouTube channels, my community. And then phase two is trying to grab people who already have good studies, good entrepreneurial experience to repackage their learning, then distribute it. And then finally, creating a hub where people can go inside and learn everything that we have learned, then practice it. And in case some of them requires, for example, a lawyer or maybe accountant, within the network, they can find such people, a lawyer, an accountant. So in the end of the day, it's a hub for people to not only learn about business, but try to also find the components of doing a business like accountant, HR, lawyer, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. do you plan to build your business? Because from what I heard, you want to teach, you want to educate people, but I wonder if you want to build your business based on the knowledge that you uh, got through your master's degree.
Yes, obviously, it's repackaging also means that I have to cover the operational costs. So, yes, it's going to be a business that helps people to study, but it will be at a very low bar, very affordable. Because as of now, there are only one school of business that exists in Indonesia, which is created by Pak Win. He's a Tsinghua graduate MBA. And that's it. That's only for SMEs. But I'm trying to make an all-in-all compass for people to learn and practice.
Mm. Um, so your goal is to be an educator and to improve the system, something like that. You don't plan to build your business or to uh, grow your existing business.
The existing business will be a distribution network for this
Mm.
platform. Yes.
Oh, that is your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, after I heard that and when I read your essay, I don't think that your short-term plan is. I think you don't have to take master's degree to do this, yeah, to develop content and educate people. I think you can do it without your master's degree. So, can you explain more, maybe, or give some insight? What is the key point that will be different by achieving this master's degree? What what can you do based on the knowledge that you got from your master's degree?
Good. It is understandable to have that perception, especially that you have a distribution network. But the
Mm-hmm.
problem would be the quality of the program provided. Assuming
Mm-hmm.
that I do not get this master's degree, then everything that
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to repackage will be to the extent of what I have learned. And to the extent of what I have learned is heavily biased on how Indonesian works,
Mm-hmm.
and heavily biased also to the problems that I personally face. But
Okay.
if I get this master's degree, not only I will learn from the best professors and lecturers, but also I will have the experience of how things work, how things really
Mm-hmm.
work in advanced countries. And those
Mm-hmm.
things are not achievable for me at this level. I can only achieve to a certain extent how things work in current companies, but that's it. That means I'm going to just reiterate the problem that we already have.
Okay. Okay, I see. Um, and what if you fail to get your acceptance from NUS? Will you be okay by going to Leeds?
That would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Also that would be okay. That would be okay. Both are fine.
That won't change your goals or your long-term plan.
That doesn't change because both I specifically aim for both sides, even if there's
Mm-hmm.
difference in masters, but both are focusing on decision-making process.
Oh, okay. Um, so you mentioned several things that you need to master, like accounting, risk management, maybe some business analytics, and it will be there. It is they are on the your master's degree curriculum. They
Yep.
are all in the curriculum, like, right? Okay.
Yep. Right.
Mm, uh, from your psychology background, are you confident that you can catch up with this kind of topic? Because it is very different from psychology, right?
Yes.
Economics and business and accounting, especially.
Right. Yes. the things that I've did to prepare myself for a master's degree in business
Mm.
is first of all taking lots of certification. I have certification in financial planning from CFI. I have certification of
Mhm.
mini MBA, human resources from Atmajaya, and
Mhm.
so on and so forth. So that settles the ability for me to learn about different topics.
Mhm.
Secondly, I've worked with various people working in banking sector, SMEs, SOEs,
Mhm.
foreigners. That means also I've prepared myself for adapting to how cultural differences work. So those pillars will be the safety net for me transitioning from psychology to business major.
Okay. But taking certificates is not enough, yeah. You still have to study abroad.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So how optimist that you can uh achieve your long-term goal? Because as you know, building business and changing people mindset is not that easy, yeah. Especially uh, the funding and the regulation. What will you do to make sure that it can work?
By starting small. So
Mm-hmm.
I already have a community of people that work in remote workers in Jakarta. So I will start translating what I've learned to them first, so that
Mm-hmm.
after that to their friends. So starting from my friends, my community, and then friends of friends, and then friends of friends again. So it will be slow, yet it's going to be effective because it's going to be personal between me and them, slowly but surely. The in the end, that bond will be effective for this hub to be made. The
Mm-hmm.
scale might be quite different than what I envisioned, but the degree of impact could still happen.
Okay. You have a lot of connections that can make it work.
Fortunately, I do. Yes.
Okay. Nice to hear. And I know that you will go through internship in Singapore, maybe working in one of the best companies there. And I wonder if you are given chance to continue your internship program, or you are offered a job in that company. Are you going to accept it?
That would be heavily reliant on the amount of pros and cons weighted at the time. So first of all, I need to fulfill my 2 years agreement with LPDP if I get accepted. If it
Mm-hmm.
apparently working that helps the government, like for example, helps the Indonesian government, I might talk to the LPDP for that because it will be benefited LPDP Indonesian and Singaporean. But if it doesn't, then I just go back to Indonesia and do the things 100%.
Okay. Yeah, okay. You seem so sure. And okay. I want to know about your projects. So, do you have a project that is initiated by you and have a big impact for people around you? For the example, people in business or something like that.
Yes, quite recently in 2024,
Mm-hmm.
I created a community for remote workers called WF
Mm-hmm.
Chuan, Work from Cafe Chuan. I gathered remote workers in Jakarta, in Bandung, Bogor, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I work with other remote workers in Jogja. It helps to the extent that it provides projects. Like for example, there are side projects that can be given to the people that are in within the community,
Mm-hmm.
doing workshops for the people. In fact, we do quite a lot of webinars, and the webinars are free for people to join. We already did 52 webinars in the span of 8 months. So Yes, those are the impacts that I created using the community and the people within the community.
Okay. Okay. Um, and maybe I want before my last question, I want to know more about your other activities that you will be pursuing in your campus if you got accepted. Do you plan to enroll in student activities, or what will you do
Right.
there?
So if I get accepted to NUS, then I will
Mm-hmm.
mostly spend my time, aside from studying, is
Mm-hmm.
networking with Block 71 and people who are within the
Oh.
startup ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
That way, not only I will have access to the people, prominent figure of venture capitals and people who are already working in startups, but also how
Mm-hmm.
they do their business, how they build a business from the ground up, from zero to something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those will be my most spend time in NUS, aside from study.
Okay. Well, make sure that you can keep up with your GPA.
Right.
So you are not busy with other activities like you did in undergraduate, yeah.
Understand.
Mm, okay. So, do you have closing statement for us?
Um, I think the final statement would be,
Mm,
um, I'm going there to study, and then I'm going to learn how those business people and professors manage their decision-making process, either managing risk, stakeholders, and everything in between. Then I want to translate those things that I've learned to the people in
mm,
Indonesia by creating content, by creating a networking sessions and community, using my own current business as a distribution network. That way, I can not only impact Indonesia, but have
mm.
at least a dent on how people think about entrepreneurship. Those will be my closing remark.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right.
Yay!
Gimana gimana? Gue sendiri sadar sih ada jawaban yang aneh tadi.
It's quite good. It's good. Untuk mock up, ini mock up pertama setelah berapa bulan setelah LPDP selesai ya.
Betul, betul.
Kak Elsha, do you want to give comments first?
Okay. First of all, overall, yeah, in my personal opinion, it's actually quite good. My questions yang ditanyakan tadi, aku nggak memperhatikan apakah mengikuti STAR atau SMART, tapi aku merasa puas dengan jawabannya Kak Edo di pertanyaanku. Aku merasa itu udah cukup menjawab. Di pertanyaan Kak Tabi, menurutku yang agak tersandung, mungkin banyak mikirnya itu yang di pertanyaan tentang kewirausahaan itu tadi ya. Yang itu yang mungkin aku rasa yang agak masih lama mikirnya gitu. Jadi, in my personal opinion, sebenarnya Kak Edo ini I don't say this to just to boost your ego. I think you're actually memang a worthy material ya. Maksud tuh pengalamannya jelas, interviewnya juga public speakingnya itu kelihatan di interview, you're comfortable in speaking English or Indonesian. Jadi in my opinion ya, menurut aku, ini apakah kegagalan Kak Edo yang lalu, itu apakah menurut Kak Edo sendiri, ada maybe subjectivity-nya interviewer kah? Mereka mungkin apakah kurang tertarik dengan yang kayak Edo sampaikan gitu? Karena in my opinion, actually kalau misalnya kayak Edo itu bisa menyampaikan substansi yang kayak Edo miliki, your experiences, your knowledge, and apa ya, cukup clear in my opinion. Jadi as long as you can deliver it well, I think insya Allah you can do fine. Cuman memang interview LPDP ini kan memang sangat subjektif ya, memang sangat
Yep.
tergantung dengan mereka tertarik atau tidak. Jadi in my opinion kalau aku bisa ngasih input, kayak one of the weakness Kak Edo, maybe Kak Edo ini masih, kalau di terms of eye contact, masih sering melihat ke arah-arah yang lain gitu. And bagi orang lain mungkin bisa jadi kelihatan kayak membaca notes atau gimana gimana gitu. And I would also say kalau bisa kameranya itu lebih melihat lagi, kalau bisa kayak shoulder up gitu. Ini I think ini kayaknya masih mungkin karena mockup aja ya. maybe later in the real interview bakal lebih bagus lagi settingan kameranya. So in my opinion actually mungkin cuman Kak Edo aja apakah in the real interview apakah memang subjektivitasnya interviewernya kali yang bisa bikin bikin gagal gitu. Karena aku sendiri di interview batch lalu memang interviewernya itu kelihatan nggak tertarik at the get go gitu. Bukan karena ketika aku ngomong dia nggak tertarik, no. At the very beginning kelihatannya dia kayak not interested at all. Dan juga aku dapatnya 25 Oktober, which is the last day, the last batch, mungkin mereka kayak bosen. Intinya memang very clear mereka itu di awal nggak tertarik sama apa yang aku sampaikan. Mereka just like kayak pengen interview ini done and over with. Jadi I think that's the only thing yang kemungkinan bisa terjadi sehingga Kak Edo nggak dapat LPDP. Tapi in overall I think you know what you're doing, you know what you want, you know why you should get that, why should it be Singapore. You're also you're very knowledgeable in your field, so I think there's no problem why you shouldn't be an awardee actually. Kak Edo
Thank you.
sendiri, menurut kakak di batch lalu apakah memang ada kejadian seperti itu yang membuat kakak merasa ya ini kayaknya clearly I'm not going to get this karena interviewernya kayaknya nggak suka gitu.
Oh iya ada. Tadi kan gue cerita yang hunch itu karena di akhir bapak dosennya bilang bahwa jurusan saya salah. Menurut dia lebih baik antara ngambil strategic management langsung yang ngambil keputusan atau MPP aja sekalian.
Hmm.
Karena
I,
mau bikin komunitas, mau bikin ningkatin jumlah entrepreneur, itu kan artinya butuh kemampuan regulatori kan. Jadi menurut dia tuh kurang tepat.
I see.
Itu kalimat itu yang bikin gue gagal nih. Udahlah.
Ini Kak Edo, ini aku penasaran aja, kakak rencana apply Australia Awards nggak?
Apply. Bentar
Hmm.
dulu.
Is it your first time applying for Australia Awards this year?
No, it's gonna be the second time.
Karena
Gonna be-
in my opinion ya AS itu yang kan mereka values-nya agak beda dengan LPDP ya. They're really looking for people like you yang punya misalnya networking-nya bagus atau punya channel kayak YouTube kan, you say you have millions of subscribers. Kayak gitu benar-benar itu yang perlu, and I think AS itu sebenarnya cocok banget sama Kak Edo gitu karena sesuai, and they won't see I mean low GPA itu memang mempengaruhi tapi nggak ngaruh banget gitu kalau you have so many experience and so many projects and you have the clear knowledge gitu, mereka nggak masalah soal yang gitu. Jadi I think you have it's a good to know that you're also applying for AS karena you have a good chance on that too. Ya, kalau
Right.
my feedback sih itu aja sih. Kalau misalnya Kak Edo, sebenarnya kalau menurut aku pribadi ya, harus mandang ke kamera, harus mandang ke layar itu menurut aku agak, in my personal opinion, agak petty sih menurut aku. Karena memang orang yang bicara kayak aku pribadi, aku tipe yang bicara itu nggak bisa langsung kayak ngelihat kamera. Aku memang pasti mikirnya itu nengok-nengok kemana-mana gitu. And I have to move my hands. Tapi kan kita sering juga mendengarkan feedback kalau, oh, kata kakak awardee atau kata kak mentor, look at the camera, tangannya jangan banyak digerakin. So maybe there are some people out there that memang nggak suka kalau kita terlalu memandang kemana-mana atau tangan kita banyak-banyak bergerak. So maybe just practice handling that eye contact with the camera but that's just something very minor ya. Overall, I think your speaking abilities are great. I think you're knowledgeable in your field and I think you have a clear goals. So I see no reason why you shouldn't be an awardee. Ya, itu sih dari aku. Silakan Kak Tabi.
Ya, agree sama Kak Elsya. Jadi Kak Edo kayaknya udah sangat paham ya di bidangnya. Tapi Kak Edo kemarin daftarnya MBA ya, yang batch 2024 lalu, batch 2.
Manajemen.
Oh, manajemen.
Nggak keluar.
Oke.
Kalau hanya nggak sempat keluar.
Iya. Kalau MDA ini aku kurang tahu sih, tapi apakah dia ada strategiknya dan ada tentang regulatorinya juga kah?
Ada di pilihan nanti di mata kuliah pilihan.
Oh, ada
Hmm.
di sub spesialisnya ya, specialty-nya gitu ada ya?
Ada.
Oh, iya mungkin mempersiapkan kalau misalnya ditanya lagi sama interviewernya
Ya.
terkait dengan pilihan jurusannya ya, apakah sudah berkaitan atau belum dengan tujuan yang mau dicapai. Tapi iya itu tadi pertanyaan aku juga sih karena kan aku sebenarnya bertanya apakah ada korelasinya gitu antara ilmu yang Kak Edo mau ambil sama rencana goals Kak Edo ke depannya. Dan ternyata di situ memang ada terkait dengan ya macam-macam lah ya ilmu yang dibutuhkan di dalam membangun bisnis itu. Plus juga expertise dari si profesor yang punya experience berbisnis di China ekonomi dan sebagainya ya. Jadi it's good menurut aku dan entah kenapa menurut aku NUS is the right choice ya. Cuman tadi aku karena aku belum riset aja, tapi mungkin nanti akan ditanyain ya kenapa nggak ini, kenapa nggak itu gitu. Karena kan maybe quite MBA kan banyak banget ya. Terus ada tapi yang strategic analisis itu agak cukup ini ya, agak cukup apa ya ilmunya ya namanya ya spesifik gitu. Jadi kayaknya udah bagus sih dibandingkan manajemen kemarin. Mungkin manajemen too general kali ya,
Ini bisa
yang
jadi itu
kemarin itu.
mungkin.
Iya kan? Uh, Notes dari aku juga nggak banyak. Tadi di awal kayak Do sempat ngomong which was written in the essay waktu Kak Elsia nanya. Kayaknya itu nggak perlu sih. Kalimat itu nggak perlu. Jadi kayak meskipun ada di essay tapi kadang-kadang mereka masih suka nanyain. Hmm, terus eh apa lagi ya? Oh iya, sebenarnya sih aku udah cukup clear ya kan aku berulang kali nanya goalsnya Kak Edo, tujuannya. Tadi Kak Edo mention juga itu sekarang cuma ada satu proper uh, bisnis apa ekosistem.
Iya, si Pak Win itu.
Nah, itu menurut aku kayak sesuatu hal yang menarik banget nih. Wah, ternyata kita cuma punya itu loh gitu. Dan masih kurang banget Indonesia di situ. Dan itu menjadi alasan yang kuat banget kenapa Kak Edo harus membuat ekosistem seperti yang di Singapura itu ada di Indonesia ini gitu. Eh, Nah, kemarin kan si Kak Kevin sempat ngobrol soal ngomong soal pentahelix itu kan di webinarnya dia. Menurut aku itu ada benarnya juga sih karena kan untuk melancarkan rencana Kak Edo itu kan tadi kan aku tanya kan kayaknya ini butuh banyak kolaps dengan berbagai pihak deh gitu. Aku tahu sih networking Kak Edo tuh banyak ya, cuman mungkin bisa didetailin kerjasama dengan apa. Misalnya kerjasama dengan kementerian kah atau kerjasama dengan eh I don't know badan apakah. Di sini Kak Edo soalnya sempat bilang juga dengan Singapura juga ya.
Iya,
Iya, ada kerjasama antara Indonesia dengan Singapura. Itu sih. Jadi kayak lebih clear aja gitu gimana sih step by step Kak Edo bisa mencapai long term goal-nya.
oke.
Tuh, terus sebenarnya yang masalah IPK itu ya kan sempat ditanya juga tuh sama Kak Elsya. Menurut aku nggak apa-apa sih, maksudnya bagus gitu loh mengakui dulu kita mungkin kurangnya di mana gitu. Cuman tadi kan Kak Elsya sempat nanya kan, apakah ini akan terjadi lagi di S2? Mungkin better ditambahkan jawabannya dengan iya saya udah eh, bertekad atau udah berusaha supaya saya selain fokus sama aktivitas juga bisa membagi waktu untuk mengejar pelajaran gitu misalnya. Gitu. Karena sesama yang IPK-nya agak mepet juga, aku juga kemarin sebenarnya sempat ditanya kan, aplikan lain banyak loh yang GPA-nya tinggi-tinggi gitu. Terus GPA kamu cuman segini, gimana gitu. Dan menurut aku nggak apa-apa sih, kita jawab jujur aja. Cuman yakinkan mereka kalau kita bisa achieve GPA yang lebih tinggi lagi di S2 gitu.
Banyak, banyak.
Hmm, other than that, menurut aku bagus sih. Tadi juga Kak Edo kan sempat ditanya soal dulu psikologi, terus habis itu kenapa banting setir ke bisnis, Kak Edo juga udah bisa jelasin. Tapi mungkin ada nggak sih aspek psikologi, ilmu psikologi yang diterapkan di bisnis? Kayaknya ada deh, Kak.
Ada consumer behavior sama
Iya,
PO.
maksudnya kayak itu tuh jadi salah satu poin penting juga karena Kak Edo punya background psikologi, jadi Kak Edo tuh eh, lumayan expert loh di sisi itu gitu. Bisa berguna juga untuk bisnis. Itu aja sih paling masukan dari aku Kak Edo. Sisanya ya aku cukup yakin sih kamu kayaknya bisa deh dapat yang kali ini. Hopefully di bundling itu ya. Karena
Ah,
aku nggak tahu PG-nya lebih lebih rendah kah dibanding reguler.
kayaknya belum pernah disebutin juga PG-nya berapa.
Oh iya ya.
Heeh.
Ini pertama kali ya yang ada bundling
Iya,
atau sebelumnya?
pertama kali.
Pantesan karena banget ya. Ini aku boleh nambah sesuatu nggak?
Silakan
Boleh.
silakan Kak Al.
Kalau ya kayak yang kata Kak Tabi tadi ya, yang nyebutin it's already as written in my essay gitu, dan juga kayaknya ada juga sekali Kak Edo bilang obviously gitu. Nah, in my personal opinion, sometimes interviewer atau assessor itu ketika mereka baca CV sama essay kita, kadang mereka kayak udah punya image kita itu orangnya seperti apa gitu kan. Yang aku in my personal reading itu, yang bisa mungkin mereka mencoba kayak ini kayaknya Kak Edo itu takutnya tersandung mereka itu mikir kayak punya prejudis Kak Edo itu orang yang very confident and punya apa kayak itu high achiever, have lots of experience. Jadi mungkin mereka kayak mencoba melabel ini orang agak ini enggak sih agak tinggi hati enggak sih kayak gitu. You know, you get what I'm saying? Jadi dengan mengcounter itu your mindset in the interview is I have to be more humble kayak gitu. So sometimes we have to kayak read dari CV sama essay kira-kira apa sih image yang didapat sama apa karena kan ada juga misalnya mereka dari baca CV aja mereka merasa ini kayaknya orang agak insecure nih jadi mereka mencoba attack di bidang sana gitu yang aku rasa mereka bisa meng-attack Kak Edo itu is in your misalnya mereka mencoba apa memancing-mancing apakah Kak Edo orangnya overconfident kah atau apakah Kak Edo orang-orang yang ya like that gitu so maybe try to avoid like kayak gitu yang kayak obviously atau it's already written in the essay kayak gitu karena itu bisa jadi men-trigger mereka kayak ini oh ya yeah, I'm right ini orang kayaknya dia kayak gitu gitu itu sih dari aku tapi overall good job I think Kak Edo just a few more mock-ups and insya Allah you'll be fine ya.
Amin. Amin.
Amin.
Amin.
Agree banget sih sama Kak Elsya. Karena tadi aku juga baru baca sekilas. Tadi kita nggak terlalu banyak ngulik strong point sama weak point ya. Aku lihat Kak Edo tuh nulis weak point-nya itu sebenarnya strong point gitu. Ya kan? Kayak strong attachment to results, drive to excel, internal
Iya,
locus of control. Jadi kayak emang kesannya ini adalah very very confident gitu. It's
itu
okay uh, to be confident sih, but a bit humble. Iya sih, paling itu aja dari aku.
Sama itu aja deh aku juga. Kalau dari Kak Edo sendiri ada tanggapan?
Iya.
Heeh.
gue sadar dari cara jawab gue tadi itu kayak ngehina pemerintah kita. Gue bilang Indonesian have lots of government red tapes. Itu salah sebenarnya. Itu artinya banyak banyak birokrasi yang nggak jelas. Red tapes kan kata
Hmm.
konotasinya buruk ya.
Iya,
Itu iya
sama
itu.
juga ini sih Kak. Sebenarnya aku ketawa sendiri pas Kak Edo cerita tentang kalau di Singapura kita breakfast bisa bisa melar terus lunch udah selesai.
Menyelesaikan.
Tapi kalau di Indonesia
Iya,
kita breakfast ya 1 bulan kemudian gitu. Itu kan agak-agak sarcasm ya. Actually
iya
you're
itu.
correct gitu kan. Tapi maybe itu mungkin bisa nge-trigger juga orang. Jadi kayak sarcasm might not always be the answer. Tapi I agree with you. Ternyata Singapura cepat banget, Indonesia lambat banget gitu.
Iya itu parah
Mm.
itu.
Mm-mm.
Makanya gue tutup dengan bilang IODB aja. Nanti
Mm.
udah terasa tadi sarkasnya keluar.
Mm-mm.
Iya,
Ya Bismillah lah. Ah,
Bismillah.
tapi kudos tuh Kak Edo udah semangat di
Mhm.
tanggal 17 Maret udah mulai. Hopefully ya. Ini by the way yang regular Kak Edo jalur LOA atau jalur regular, maksud tuh regular non LOA gitu.
Satu regular LOA. Yang
Jadi udah
MBA
dapat dari Leeds ya.
udah.
Oke. Bismillah deh.
Bismillah.
Mm-mm. Ya.
Ah,
Jadi bikin aku jadi agak-agak terbakar juga sih mau pengen coba mulai mockup gitu. Karena aku juga apply
Iya.
Australia Awards gitu. Kalau Kak Tabi nggak apply AS ya?
Mau sih, mau apply.
Mm.
Tapi